Good evening. Please stand as you are able for the national anthem sung by Colleen Allard-Smith, followed by an invocation offered by Furman University chaplain Dr. Vaughn Crow-Tipton, and then immediately followed by words of welcome from Furman President Elizabeth Davis.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Ladies and gentlemen, before our invocation this evening, I think it appropriate that we observe a moment of silence in memory and honor of those who have lost their lives in the fires of California and those first responders giving their lives to fight for and care for others. Will you join with me in a moment of silence? Thank you. Let us pray. Tonight we gather, Holy One, recognizing and commemorating the work of legislative and civic leaders in our communities. We're grateful for their gifts in advocacy and justice, for their vision and creativity in working for good, and for their understanding of community and care that make our state better for all people. Hear our thankfulness that you endow leaders and advocates to work for sustained and social economic progress in South Carolina. Even so, we are aware that we're part of a larger community in our country and around the world. Within that diversity, we acknowledge that all of us have the ability and calling to become leaders in our world. We ask that you give us hearts large enough to match the breadth and diversity of our local and world communities. Give us souls strong enough to lead with vision and wisdom that go beyond lines, walls, and agendas. Most of all, as we journey forward in the days ahead, bless us with the unusual gifts necessary for making a difference in a troubled world. Communities that challenge and support us and one another. Wisdom from the diversity of ages around us. Hope that can fuel our ideas and actions. Grace for those who stumble in life, including ourselves. And finally, with enough foolishness to believe we can do what others claim cannot be done. Amen.
Please be seated. It is so great to see all of you here this evening. It's a gift to be with you tonight as we begin this year in celebration of principled leadership. 2024 was a year marked by challenges and opportunities across our communities, state, and nation. Some of us may be starting 2025 with echoes of campaign ads and politically polarizing sound bites still ringing in our ears. Lucky for us, the dawn of each new year and each new legislative session begins with this intentional, purposeful, bipartisan convening of the Riley-Wilkins One South Carolina Legislative and Civic Leadership Awards. Together with my co-hosts, Furman alumnus, former two-term governor of South Carolina, and U.S. Secretary of Education Dick Riley, and former South Carolina Speaker of the House and U.S. Ambassador to Canada, David Wilkins, I'd like to share our gratitude with the Riley Institute at Furman for orchestrating this great program and many others that promote principled leadership throughout our state. Since its founding 25 years ago, the Riley Institute has worked to promote community-centered, collaborative solutions for a stronger, more equitable South Carolina. I'm thankful for their important work on our campus, in our communities, and across our state. Tonight, I'd like to give a special word of thanks to the Riley Institute's former executive director, who is now transitioned to founding director and special counsel, Furman professor, Dr. Don Gordon. Don, your innovative leadership has shaped the Riley Institute into a catalyst for driving social and economic progress in South Carolina and beyond. Thank you. Let's give him like an even bigger. A well-deserved standing ovation. 3 years ago, the Riley Institute added the Building One South Carolina Forum and the associated One South Carolina Partners in Progress Awards to recognize landmark collaborative achievements contributing significantly to social and economic progress in South Carolina. I'd like to invite representatives from our past Partners in Progress award-winning initiatives to please stand when I call your organization's name. Please hold your applause until all 3 programs have been named. Northside Development Group in 2022, International African American Museum 2023, and Turn 90 in 2024. Starting next year, we will host the Building One South Carolina Forum earlier on this same day and honor our Partners in Progress Winning Initiative winners during this dinner alongside our legislative and civic leadership honorees. We look forward to celebrating all 3 of our One South Carolina Leadership Award together on this special evening in January of 2026 and in the years to come. Together with Secretary Riley, Ambassador Wilkins, and the Riley Institute, I'd like to thank all of our elected and appointed officials who have joined us this evening, and our deepest gratitude to our sponsors who make this evening possible. Our presenting sponsor is Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina, the only South Carolina-owned and operated health insurance carrier and one of South Carolina's largest employers. Thank you, Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina, for helping support the Riley Institute's work to advance social and economic progress across South Carolina. Thanks also to our cocktail reception sponsor, Total Wine, our dessert reception sponsor, Nelson Mullins, and to our partner level sponsors, Duke Energy, Lexington Medical Center, Who's on the Move, and South Carolina ETV, who graciously partner with us every year to tell the compelling stories of our winners through video, which you will see during the awards presentations this evening. Thanks also to our advocate level sponsors, whose names you see listed on the screen, and our friend level sponsors, who are listed with all sponsors on the back of the program. Now, it's time for dinner. We'll continue with our program in about 15 minutes, and our evening will conclude with a reception where you can visit with friends and colleagues, congratulate our winners, and enjoy dessert. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Now, I invite you to enjoy dinner and each other.
Good evening, friends. Hello. Thank you, Ford. I appreciate that. I'm Brian Burrows, the Riley Institute's new executive director. And what an... Well, thank you. It's a huge honor to be with you here tonight. The Riley-Wilkins OneSouthCarolina Leadership Awards celebrate who we are and serve as an aspiration for who we can become as a state. The awards honor leadership, advancing our state's progress, and summon all of us to join in a shared commitment, moving our state forward through collaborative action across differences. To ground us in understanding the spirit and ethos of these awards, I'm thrilled to ask you all to join me in giving a warm welcome to South Carolina Supreme Court Chief Justice John Kittredge and Justice Gary Hill.
Good evening. Thank you, Brian. The Riley-Wilkins Awards celebrate leaders who influence opportunities for all South Carolinians. Leaders who know that things get done not in isolation or echo chambers, but in partnership and in collaboration with others, even those who may not see eye to eye with them on every issue. Leaders who are willing to work across the aisle to find common ground without compromising fundamental beliefs. It's referred to as principled leadership. Those honored this evening are well-deserving. But there are two additional honorees not mentioned in your program. Years ago, a former Chief Justice initiated an award known as the Chief Justice's Lifetime Achievement Award. Since I began my tenure as Chief Justice this past August, I have revived the Lifetime Achievement Award. This evening, 2 presentations of the Lifetime Achievement Award will be presented to Secretary Riley and Ambassador Wilkins. The Chief Justice's Lifetime Achievement Award recognizes those truly exceptional members of the legal profession who've long served and demonstrated the highest standards of intellectual and ethical excellence, integrity, and service. I've asked my friend and Supreme Court Justice Gary Hill, whose family has enjoyed a long and wonderful relationship with Secretary Riley, to offer remarks on behalf of the great Dick Riley. I'll follow with comments on the remarkable David Wilkins.
Thank you, Chief Justice Kittredge, for reinstating this Lifetime Achievement Award and allowing me to participate in the bestowing of it to one of South Carolina's favorite sons, Dick Riley. Most of you here know well the details of Dick Riley's amazing career. I will not recount those details except to say that he has held the titles of governor of our state and that of a presidential cabinet secretary. History will tell us, and indeed it has already told us, something else we all here know, that in both of these offices at the pinnacle of government power, Dick Riley was a transformative figure. And here's another thing. Although the force of his leadership was such that he fundamentally changed both those offices, he himself never changed. When he left the governor's mansion and when he left Washington, his sterling reputation and uncompromising integrity were untarnished, never touched by even the hint of scandal. Secretary Riley would not want much fuss made about him. He never has wanted that. And like the preacher said, don't tell me about your titles, tell me your testimony. Secretary Riley's career is a vivid, inspiring testament to what character can do. It is a testament to the good that one good person can do. It is a testament that kindness, civility, humility, and decency are not obstacles to principled and effective leadership. They can and should be the best and most direct path to such success. Dick Riley knows that life is for sowing, not reaping, and that the sowing is the greater reward. Tonight, though, justice demands, and the Chief Justice and all of the justices on your Supreme Court insist that you accept some small recognition from us for your many years of selfless public service to the citizens of South Carolina and the United States.
I'll let you hold this.
Thank you so much. I thank you all so much. It means a lot to me. But I thank you for being here. The One South Carolina idea, the idea of everybody pulling together is big. It's the biggest thing we got about. And that's why you're here. So thank you for being here, and thank you for your honor. And thank you both for being wonderful justices. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Riley, and thank you, Justice Hill, for those wonderful remarks on behalf of such a wonderful person. David Wilkins. David Wilkins has served the law, his county, his state, and his country. In each instance, as a lawyer, a House member, Speaker of the House, or America's ambassador to Canada, David Wilkins has distinguished himself. To each task, to each client, in his service to the state and nation, David has demonstrated a tenacious can-do attitude. Yes, he wants to win and is driven by results. But the key point is that the goal, the victory, is not himself. With David Wilkins, the goal has always been about serving his clients, his constituents, his state, and nation, serving you. Whether it was in his role as Speaker of the House, in establishing life scholarships, or the successful negotiation of thorny trade issues between America and Canada, David Wilkins has exhibited a level of leadership that is rarely seen. Time constraints preclude me from sharing the full greatness of this remarkable person. So please permit me to conclude with perhaps the most important observation about David. His incredible resume of leadership and excellence is seamlessly knitted together with a character and personality that cares deeply about those he serves, those around him. He's loyal and he's so very caring. David Wilkins cares deeply, not merely about important policy decisions. He cares about people, the people he serves and those affected by his service. I know this because I have worked alongside David Wilkins and have known him for more than 40 years. David Wilkins is a giant in the law in principled service to others, especially to those who know, respect, and love him. Please join with your Supreme Court, Justice Few, Justice Verdon, Justice Hill, and myself, as Gary and I step down from the stage and present Secretary Riley and Ambassador Wilkins with the Chief Justice's Lifetime Achievement Award.
Thank you, John. I wondered why you showed up tonight. Oh, you're always here. It's such an honor for me to be with my friend Dick Riley and to share in this award to him. 18 years we've been doing this, and We're going to do another 18, right, Dick? But thank you all for being here. This is a huge crowd, one of the largest, if not the largest we've ever had. And John, thank you for your very kind remarks. I'm just glad Susan was here to hear that, as well as my two sons, James and Robert and Stephanie. But I'm honored beyond words and don't deserve it, but appreciate it very much, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Justices, for grounding us in the spirit of these awards by recognizing the principled and exemplary leadership that Secretary Riley and Ambassador Wilkins have built and continue to provide to our state. Now, as we prepare to honor our 2025 award winners, I'm very pleased to welcome our podium speakers who will reflect on the courage it takes for leaders to show up and to speak up to represent the voices of all South Carolinians. Representative Rita Allison is a former winner. Yep, I heard a shout out there. Representative Rita Allison is a former winner of the Riley-Wilkins Legislative Leadership Award, whose numerous leadership roles include 2 stints of service in our South Carolina House, and her current role as chair of the SC Board of Education, which I think your first meeting was yesterday. As chair. And Senator Joel Lori is a 35-year business owner and regional leader in the health insurance and Medicaid industry who served South Carolina for 18 years collectively in both the House and the Senate. These two have held more leadership positions and received more well-deserved recognition than I could possibly name tonight. So without further ado, friends, please join me in welcoming Representative Rita Allison and Joel Lori.
Rita, I don't know about you, but I don't think we are equipped to follow celebrating the lifetime achievements of 2 of South Carolina's most principled leaders. But here we go. Let's give it a shot.
Joel, I know what you mean. It's taking all the courage that I can muster to follow that act, not to mention being tapped to do this the year after Justin Bamberg and Neil Collins.
Indeed. And I could use some more courage too. Lucky for us, I brought some in liquid form.
Oh my gosh.
All right, Rita, I'm hearing bourbon in the back room music. So that means it's time to pour a shot, and we're gonna talk South Carolina politics, Riley-Wilkins style.
Woo! Now you're talking. And this is not just any bourbon, that you brought the good stuff though, didn't you? Woo.
You can't make this up, Rita. Furman's flagship brand, FU, all the time.
Woo.
Because nothing says you're special like a big glass of FU.
Ooh.
Available while supplies last.
President Davis, Joel and I'll meet you backstage to collect our endorsement after the program.
You know, I think we can all get behind talking about Riley-Wilkins style politics. Better yet, you can listen to some of our past podcast episodes featuring my former speaker, Ambassador Wilkins, and my lifelong friend, Secretary Governor Riley, to hear directly from these leaders who have shown an unwavering commitment to the people of South Carolina.
You know, tonight we're here to celebrate leaders who cultivate pathways for all South Carolinians to be heard. When I was chair of the House Education Committee, I had the privilege of traveling our great state to listen to challenges that our teachers were facing. Our listening sessions led to legislation that improved working conditions for our teachers, including planning time, parental leave, and pay. That work got done through listening and through the courage of those who showed up to speak up for their colleagues and their communities.
You know, speaking of courage, Rita, I seem to remember a story about you yourself having to muster up courage. In fact, I think that story can be heard in the May 2023 episode of...
Wait. You got to wait for this shameless plug that's
Bourbon
coming
in the
along.
back room, folks.
Yeah, I knew it. Well played, Joel, well played. And you're right. Years ago, when I first learned that the House seat in my district was opening up, I did what a tenacious Southern woman would do. I went home and told my husband to run for the office. He promptly declined and put that task back on me. And what a journey it's been, and a gift that it has been, to be a woman in South Carolina leadership.
Rita, I had the pleasure of knowing your husband. He was a dear man and a great visionary who clearly recognized your gifts for leadership. And I'm so grateful for the courage you drew upon to run for office yourself. Our legislative honoree tonight, Senator Katrina Shealy, well, let me tell you, she knows a thing or two about mustering up courage. When Senator Shealy was first elected in 2012, she was the only woman in the South Carolina Senate. She has been a fearless advocate, not only for women, but for children, but for families, for veterans, for seniors, and for all South Carolinians. She would even come work across the aisle with the likes of me, and people would often refer to us as the odd couple.
Yeah, she was a courageous woman indeed, especially working with the likes of you. You know, courage is something that many may not need to practice often if their viewpoints and their experiences are already well represented. But courage has clearly been a necessary daily practice for this year's award winners. Just look at the track record of first from this year's Civic Award winner, Merl. First African American Municipal Court Judge, first African American to serve as chair of the Greenville Chamber of Commerce, the Greenville County United Way Board, just to name a few of his roles that were countless service to his community leadership. I believe that we all recognize the commitment and the courage that first, all those first, which are proven by the litany of awards that he's already won.
Now, Rita, if we're going to list off all the awards that Merl and Katrina have received, we'd be here until midnight, and we might need a bottle of this FU bourbon for every table here. 2 for Lucas and Smith over there, okay?
Yeah. Whew, it's getting to me. Okay, fair enough, Joel. To keep it in Cliff Notes fashion, I just say that I'm grateful for their leadership and bravery. Growing in the public leaders they have become has taken a lot of fortitude, and it's also took some help from others who recognize the importance of having diverse voices in the room.
That's true, Rita. That courage makes me think of trailblazers who've created conditions for South Carolina to have leaders who represent our state's rich diversity. I'm often reminded and very grateful for the example of my late father, Senator Isidore Lurie, during the election of 1970, when there were no African American members of the South Carolina House. My father worked with other leaders, campaigning in all white neighborhoods for candidates of color who were running for office that year. 3 African American candidates were elected in 1970.
Joel, your father was a special man. True leaders paved the way for others, which makes me think of another principal leader who has opened doors, former House Speaker Jay Lucas, who called me up. Yes, go ahead. If I don't let the applause go, he'll get upset. He gave me a call. He called me up several years ago, and he asked me to chair the House Education and Public Works Committee. Now, maybe that doesn't sound significant, but it was. You see, with that appointment, I became the first woman in a decade to chair a major committee and the very first Republican woman to chair a major committee. Jay helped make that happen.
Jay Lucas, Speaker Lucas, is a true statesman. We've been close friends since our first days in the House together back in 1998. And like your late dear husband, Ron, Rita, he recognized talent when he saw it. But I am sure, as you assumed that role as chair, you also felt the weight of that position, the feeling of pressure to represent and do a superb job so that the door would remain open to other women.
Absolutely. There's a tremendous sense of responsibility being the first or the only. As we honor Judge Code and Senator Shealy tonight, I hope that we can appreciate the personal resolve that these 2 individuals have shown in their careers. Their courage has opened doors to new generations of leaders to come behind them and to continue building South Carolina for all.
Let's do this. I'll tell you what, it's a new year. I propose that we take a page from the Code Shealy and, of course, furthermore, the Riley-Wilkins playbook and be courageous. In our current political atmosphere, it takes courage to listen rather than to speak. It takes courage to work together toward solutions rather than to cast blame, to do what's right for our communities. We have what it takes collectively and within each of us to find that resolve.
Should we do a toast,
Fine by
maybe,
me.
Joel? Okay, I'm thinking of that Neil Collins, Justin Bamberg type coach.
Thank you, Senator Lurie and Representative Allison. Yeah. That brings us to the highlight of the evening, the presentation of the 2025 Riley-Wilkins South Carolina Legislative and Civic Leadership Awards. We begin with the Civic Leadership Award, which each year celebrates the selfless dedication of a South Carolina leader to the betterment of their community and all people who live there. This is the Riley Institute's 13th Civic Award presentation, and we are so pleased that several of our previous winners are here with us tonight. Please stand when I call your name and hold your applause until the end. We have Minor Shaw, Nella Barkley, and Roland Gardner. Thank you all. Please join me now in watching this very brief video about our very deserving 2025 Civic Leadership Award recipient, Judge Merl F. Code. After the video, our friend and 2010 Civic Award winner, Minor Shaw, will join me on stage to present this year's Civic Leadership Award.
I was fortunate enough to have as my parents Alan L. Code Sr. and Sedalia Blassingame Code. Both of them were educators. Both of them were involved in our church. Both of them were involved in our community. So I got to watch my parents interact into a larger scene of just our community, but the broader community. And for me, being prepared to be involved in it at a higher level was important. After people have got a chance to know me and I got a chance to know them and interact, I hope mutual respect grew from all of that, and positions of leadership within those organizations became available to me because other people decided I could handle that at that time in my life. For me, it wasn't about being the first. I was just trying to be an effective leader at the position that I held, and others saw something that they chose to put me at the head of the table. I go back to my childhood in terms of the opportunity. My father joined the Republican Party in 1960 when most people of color were Democrats. And I couldn't understand why he chose to make that decision. And I said, Dad, you've been a Democrat all your life, and it seems like the principles were more suited for you. He said, Merl, sometimes decisions are made that affect you, but you were not considered. No one was in the room to give your point of view. And I have decided that I'm going to be in the room. That I learned from my daddy, you need to be in the room to affect change. So I had been involved with the chamber for a number of years, and they asked me to head up an organization called Program for Prosperity. All it was attempting to get relationships between the broader business community and the minority community so we could do business together, get to know one another. One of the strongest programs in the Greenville Chamber is called Minority Business Accelerator, which is the afterglow, if you will, of that program that I started 30 years ago. There has been, in my view, an attempt to demonize diversity, equity, and inclusion. And for folks like me, that makes no sense. There are forces that are entering South Carolina and other places that have seemed to try to dilute, if you will, people working together to affect change. And for me, that is scary. Over 2,800 citizens of this state have been involved in the Diversity Leadership Institute. That includes legislators, business folk, community leaders, nonprofit leaders, all to understand how we work together as a state. We need our voices to be heard. How does equity, how does fairness, how does inclusion become this threatening thing to society? We need to make certain that we grow South Carolina. If you look at our history, since 2003, DLI became into place. So over the last 20-something years, we have grown. The world is watching what we do in this state. I'm excited because if you watch the direction of our state over the last 20 years, we're on the incline. Folks are moving here, companies are coming here. We have something to offer, but we have to have an organization where people are involved in the growth of our state. And that means all kinds of people are involved in leadership roles and support roles. Principal leadership is your value system. What is it that you believe in? And are you willing to stand behind what you believe in? For me, principal leadership is to include other people into your decision-making process. For me, principal leadership means I want to make sure you have a chance to rise in your community to the talents that you have been given, to the abilities that you have, will not be thwarted by anything other than you. You have the ability to grow in this state based upon your God-given talents.
Good evening. I have the distinct privilege of presenting the 2025 Riley-Wilkins One South Carolina Civic Leadership Award, which recognizes leaders from across South Carolina who display a deep and tireless commitment to making South Carolina a better place to live for everyone. And what a great honor it is for me to present this award to my dear friend, Judge Merl Code, a fellow Greenvillian, and he has also been my friend for over 40 years. We have done a lot together. Congratulations on that, Merl. And I am thrilled that Merl is getting this very special award, which is so well deserved. As you just saw from the video, Merl has worked throughout his life and career to improve the lives of all South Carolinians by raising his hand as a principal leader in countless boardrooms, back rooms, and places of leadership across his community and throughout our state. Merl's work has been fueled by his unwavering commitment to address inequities and change the trajectory for communities of color and for other community members whose voices have historically not been heard. Time and time again, Merl's courageous leadership has broken down barriers and has opened doors for opportunity. Thank you, Merl, for your incredible leadership. So Merl, please join me on the stage. I just want to say one final thing about Merl. He is a wonderful person. He's my cohort in crime in many things we do, and I'm so thrilled for you. Congratulations, Merl.
Thanks so much. Thank you so much, babe. Isn't it strange that kings and queens and clowns that caper in sawdust rings, and common people like you and me are builders for eternity? Each is given a bag of tools, a shapeless mass, a book of rules. Each must make ere life is shown a stumbling block or a stepping stone. I am whatever I am by the grace of God, and I have done whatever I have done only through the grace of my God. I am honored that you have allowed me to participate in this program and that you have chosen me to be your Civic Award winner. To Dr. Elizabeth Davis, the president of Furman University, I want to thank you for your leadership and your vision. To the creative team of the DLI, Don Gordon, Benny Walker, Juan Johnson, and the late Calder Ehrman, my friend. You guys were the pioneers who put this thing together over 25 years ago. I'm honored that the Supreme Court chose John Kittredge and Gary Hill to come and be a part of this event. They're Greenvillians, and we eat at the Carolina Drive-In sometime together. I enjoyed the trailblazing leadership of Reed Allison and Joel Laurie. You were entertaining and very good. Thank you so very much. I want to say to Governor Dick Riley, Secretary of Education Dick Riley. I am honored, sir, that the Riley-Wilkins has chosen me. I consider you as the greatest living South Carolinian. Dick Riley, that is who you are, sir. To Ambassador and Senator David Wilkins, I consider you in the top 10. You're in the top 10 of the greatest living South Carolina. And in my unofficial poll, I'm in the top 50. To my friend Mina Shaw, my presenter, she is the heart and soul of the Greenville community. She has been my friend for over 40 years. We have done some things you don't know about, and hopefully someday you will. She is the co-chair of the committee to erect a statue for me. Before I die, she will ask you for some money to put up a statue for me. I will tell you that she has not reported raising any funds so far. I also want to acknowledge my Blue Cross Blue Shield family. Chair Emeritus Ed Sellers, Chairman of the Board David Pankow, and CEO Mike Mazur. And to all of my colleagues, would you please stand from Blue Cross Blue Shield. Thank you very, very much. My family is here. My wife, Dee Dee, my son, Merl, and Whitney, and my daughter, Whitney, and Candace, and Rick, and Tatiana, my granddaughter. Will y'all stand so they'll know who you are and that you actually can? Thank you. Last year's winner of the Civic Award was Roland Gardner. Most of you would have no reason to know this, but Roland Gardner and I have known each other for over 60 years. We were college fraternity brothers. We were housemates. I was the best man in his wedding, and he was the best man in my wedding. And for both of us to have received this award from the state we love so much, it is heartwarming to both of us. Thank you so very much for what you've done. I must tell you, however, that Roland Gardner is the godfather to my son Merl. He is the worst godfather ever known. My son is 51 years old. He's never received a birthday present. Graduated from 2 or 3 universities, never sent him a graduation present. Good man, but a poor godfather. To all of my fraternity brothers who came from across this state to sharing this with me, thank you so very much. Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. I appreciate you guys. To my law firm partners, the Ogletree Law Firm, those of you who came and brought your families with you, I thank you for doing that on this evening. It means a lot to me. They gave me a time limit that I'm not going to honor. This is my last chance to speak before a crowd like this. I got to tell you what I'm thinking. This upstate community is unique and very special. We're in the top 10 places to live in the United States according to Relocate magazine. Top 5 places to weather an economic storm according to Forbes magazine. We rank #1 in the U.S. in private employment in foreign affiliated companies. 24 countries, over 240 international firms, and over 70 headquarters are located in Greenville, South Carolina, BMW and Michelin, among others. As the textile industry declined, we had to pivot and redefine ourselves. We invested in French and German language schools in the 1970s and 1980s.
We sent envoys across the globe to touting the benefits of the upstate of South Carolina. We invested in diversity. We appreciated the richness of individual uniqueness and not merely tolerating it. We invested in diversity. I have often described our region as the winter wonderland, playground of the South, Lover's Haven, at the foot of the Blue Ridge Mountains, the lovely and scenic Piedmont region, the median between Atlanta, Georgia, and Charlotte, North Carolina, the automotive research capital of the Southeast, the crown jewel of the Piedmont, where the rising star grows brighter daily, where the Liberty Bridge spans the waterfall of the Reedy River, where the lakes are crystal blue, where the air is pristine pure, where the majestic mountains are the backdrop of our landscape, where the orange sun sets in the bosom of the Blue Ridge Mountains as dusk turns to day, where it's 72 degrees somewhere in Greenville County every day. And it is the birthplace of the Diversity Leadership Institute. Shall we build a bridge of promise? This Diversity Leadership Institute was designed to equip South Carolina leaders with tools and perspectives needed to leverage diversity to improve organizational outcomes to drive social and economic programs and progress in South Carolina. That was the desire of the DLI movement, and that is what I believe we have done. We must not retreat from that mission. We must not allow outside forces to demonize diversity, equity, and inclusion. Shall we build a bridge of promise? Tear down walls that split and divide? Shall we find pathways to inclusion and let the spirit of opportunity inside? Shall we build a bridge of promise? Knock down barriers that push aside? Shall we fling doorways wide open so that self-sufficiency has a place to reside? That is what diversity does. That is what our movement should be all about. I had the privilege of working with Brian Burroughs in his last position. This young man's energy, intellect, organizational skills, and passion will serve DLI well. Brian, we need to reinvigorate the 2,800 Riley Fellows. We must strategize of how and when it is appropriate to respond to the threats to the principles of DLI. We expect you to lead us into the future, my friend. You must lead us into the future. Before I take my seat, I try to leave an audience with a pearl of wisdom to live by. Everyone in this room has a family and friends that believe that you and I are financially successful. In order to preserve those important relationships, please take my pearl of wisdom to heart. Number one, do not lend any amount of money to relatives or good friends. Pearl of wisdom number one, do not lend any amount of money to a relative or a good friend that you need or expect to get back. Only give them what you can afford to lose. That's a front-side decision you need to make before you give them any money. In your mind, classify yours as a gift. You can call it a loan, you can draw up any documents you wish, but call it a gift in your mind, because you ain't gonna ever see your money back. Life is too short to fall out with your family or have to sue a friend to get your money. As I take my seat,
Thank you. When I was in school in North Carolina, as I came home on I-85, as my car would cross over from Gastonia, North Carolina to heading towards Spartanburg, I rolled my windows down so that I could inhale South Carolina air. It has been important to me all of my life to be here. I had opportunity to go all over this country to practice law. I chose here. I don't know why, but I believe South Carolina was the place for me to be. I have tried to live my life in that accord. Tonight is gratifying for me because evidently whatever I have done has meant something to somebody else. Isn't it strange that kings and queens and clowns that caper in sawdust rings, common people like you and me, are builders for eternity. Each is given a bag of tools, a shapeless mass, a book of rules. Each must make ere life is shown, a stumbling block or a stepping stone. God bless.
I think it said that to smile you use 37 muscles, and all of mine hurt right now from that. Thank you, Merl, for your exemplary leadership and your powerful words. Our One South Carolina Awards program is, again, a celebration of who we are and an aspiration of what we can become as a state. When leaders understand and address core challenges and commit to collaborative action across differences, we create conditions for all South Carolinians to thrive. I feel humbled to be in a room among so many leaders who practice this type of leadership every day, who know what great resolve it takes to listen, to build consensus, to demonstrate courage, to do the next right thing, to get things done for the people of our state. As we move into the presentation of this year's Legislative Leadership Award, I'd like to recognize our previous winners of this award who are with us this evening. As I call your name, please stand and remain standing. And once again, we'll hold our applause until all names are read. Representative Gilda Cobb Hunter, Representative Dan Cooper, Senator Wes Hayes, Representative James Smith, Speaker Jay Lucas, Representative Rita Allison, Representative Weston Newton, Senator John Matthews, Representative Gary Simmerl, Senator President Thomas Alexander, and Senator Nikki Setzler. Thank you all for being here this evening. Now we're going to watch a video of this year's Legislative Leadership Award recipient, Katrina Shealy, Senator Katrina Shealy. And after the video, our friend and 2008 Legislative Award winner, Representative Gilda Cobb Hunter, will join me on stage to present this year's Legislative Leadership Award.
I never aspired to be in politics. I started out with the Republican women, then I got involved with the county party, and the longer you stay there, the more you have to do. When you're chairman, you try and find people to run for office. I said, well, you know what, I'll do it. Everybody told me I shouldn't do it. And to be honest with you, the first time I ran against my competitor, he beat me. It was a close race. We ended up in a runoff. I decided I'd run again And I did, and I walked, and I ran, and in the meantime, the districts had been redrawn. So I had to go reintroduce myself to everybody. So during the Republican primary, and over 2 years, I went and reintroduced myself to every person in the district. I ended up winning that election to become the only woman at that time in the South Carolina Senate. So it was quite a feat. And to tell you that I wasn't scared and wondered why I did what I did once I got there, to be the only woman with 45 men, that would be a lie to tell you I didn't wonder why I did that. But I was excited. I was proud of the accomplishment. And I got in there and I said, now what am I going to do? What I did was I found a niche. I found that part of children and families and veterans and old people and the disabled that nobody else was paying any attention to. When they call you to tell you their child is in danger or a child's in foster care, you know, they want to get their child back, what can they do? Or there's a child they know that's being neglected. Or when a woman calls you and tells you that her husband's abusing her, but she doesn't know how to get out of that situation, that's an issue that pulls at your heart. To me, it's part of my DNA. You know, my family was always that family that took somebody in. I never in my life, since I was a child, remember living in my house that somebody else didn't live there. I'm so proud that I was able to work across the aisle on every issue. When you get 40 or more people to vote yes on a piece of legislation, you gotta have people across the aisle agreeing with you. I would walk across the aisle and I would go kneel down by somebody's desk and say, you know, we really need to pass this. This is what it's gonna do. Just read it. You know, they'd read it and then would change their mind and they'd vote for it. So I think, you know, explaining what you're doing made it easier. I passed something that would change somebody's life, something that would make it better. And I think that that in itself made it easy to do what I did. Now, you know, I did some things that my party didn't approve of. It does take courage to do things that you know how it's going to end. Working with my sister senators the last couple of years, that's been the biggest blessing I think I've had since I've been in the Senate. I'm proud of everything I accomplished in the Senate. My grandchildren are proud, my daughter's proud, my family's proud of me, and that's all that really matters. I love South Carolina. I do. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else in the world. The one thing that I think excites me is the advances we're making in so many other things. We're growing. You know, we're putting money into things that matter. We're putting money at Clemson University for a vet hospital. I raise donkeys. I'd like to have a good vet school here. We're putting money into the USC medical school. You know, brain health to me is one of the most important things in the entire state. My husband suffers from Alzheimer's, and to find out more sooner, that is important to me. But these are things that are happening right now in South Carolina, and I'm excited about that. My legacy has nothing to do with politics. I want my legacy to be that my grandchildren are proud of everything I've done, and when they grow up and get married, they can tell their children that my Meemaw told the best bedtime stories ever. And that's all I want.
Hey, y'all. Let me stick to the script. Good evening, friends. Tonight, I have the privilege of presenting the 2025 Riley-Wilkins South Carolina Legislative Leadership Award, which recognizes leaders in South Carolina's legislative body who set an example for principled, bipartisan leadership that leads to progress across our state. It is truly my honor and pleasure to present this award to my colleague, my friend, my sister, Senator Katrina Shealy. As you saw through the video, Senator Shealy has been a voice and a champion for women, children, veterans, seniors, and all citizens, like they say, everybody. Throughout her years in public service, Senator Shealy has worked within her party and across the aisle to move South Carolina forward with unwavering courage, integrity, compassion, and commitment to her constituents and all people in our state. Thank you, Senator Shealy, for your principled leadership and continued focus on the well-being of all South Carolinians. I invite you, Sister Girl, to come now and join me on the stage. Y'all, let's give her a hand. I'm so proud of you. No, I got the official Sarah Shealy, it is my great honor and pleasure to present to you the 2025 Riley-Wilkins One South Carolina Legislative Leadership Award. Give her a hand.
We'll quit hugging in a minute. Okay, I'm going to try and keep my speech to what I promised. Maybe. It's really an honor to stand here and receive one of the most prestigious awards bestowed on a South Carolina legislator. Seriously. I have many people to thank, but first, of course, there is Governor, Secretary, whatever I'm supposed to call you, my good friend Riley, and Ambassador Wilkins, along with Furman University and the Riley Foundation. And I don't know all those names you mentioned, Judge Code, I'm sorry, I don't know everybody's name there. There are other people who are very deserving of this award, and those who have received this award before that I admire, and I've looked to those people for advice, and I've watched and I've learned so much from you. The late Senator Hugh Leatherman always said, freshmen should be seen and not heard. Well, I think the class of 2012, that was the year I came in, was the last freshman class to heed those words of wisdom. I learned from just listening and not always talking, especially in those first 4 years. Senator Greg Gregory was one of those senators who never stood up and talked unless he had something to say. But when he went to the podium, the room got quiet and people listened. He was the E.F. Hutton of the South Carolina Senate, and those type of legislators this day are very rare. Everybody wants to be heard, whether they know what they're talking about or not. I want to thank my family, especially my husband, who cannot be here with me because he struggles with Alzheimer's. He has always supported me, and he's been proud of my accomplishments. Being the wise man he is, although he may not remember my name most days now, when I walk in the room, he does introduce me as the boss. So he is still very perceptive. I am so grateful to have Jimmy's sister and her husband here, Lisa and Joel Tyson. If y'all would stand up so everybody can see you. They have stood with me through some very tough times this last year. There have been a lot of them. Also, there are some people here tonight that have helped both Jimmy and me this year. Members of the University of South Carolina School of Medicine Brain Health Network, and I know they're here somewhere. All right, wave or something. Dr. Friedrichsen, there they are back there. They work diligently to research and hopefully find a cure in our lifetime for this terrible disease that affects so many. And I'm honored now to collaborate with them on helping spread this word. I'm so proud to have my daughter, Erica Armstrong. Erica is a public education teacher. She's been teaching for the last 27 years. I know I don't look old enough to have a daughter that's been teaching that long, but she's been at Gilbert High School. And together with my son-in-law, Tim, they have given me the most joy possible. My two wonderful, handsome, smart, talented grandsons. Taylor, a junior at USC Beaufort, and Thomas, a junior at Gilbert High School. I would like to tell you a lot more about them. But they limited my time since my very good friend, Senator Nikki Setzler, who's here tonight, and last year's most deserving recipient of this award, used most of my time allocated for this year, last year. So I've been put on a time limit. My sister, Cheryl Thorndike, stand up, is here with me tonight. She's all the way from Little River, South Carolina, so, she traveled that 3.5 hours to get here. We are as close as sisters can be, even though she moved away from me. Our mom died at a young age. She was just 40. I was 15. Cheryl was 19, and we have a brother, Eddie, who is 11. We promised our mom and dad that we would always stay close and love and care for each other, and that we did. And we will always be close until the Lord takes us away, and then we're still going to be close. I could not be here without other people sitting in this room who made my journey through the legislature a lot easier. Will I say it was always easy? I will not, because I do not lie. Even when it would be easier sometimes, and when I had the choice to take the easy road and agree to go along just to get along, or to do the right thing against all odds or outcomes, I did the right thing. And I continue to sleep very well every night. Thank you. I came into the legislature in 2012, and when I walked into the chamber for the first time for a real session day, I cannot say I wasn't nervous, but as time passed and I realized what my real purpose was, the days got easier. And the fights, although they may have been harder, every one of the fights was worth it. I love being able to talk to someone and being able to help them find a solution. But even if you didn't have the answer or that magic wand that everyone thinks legislators have, just working to try and find one or crying with them, just letting them know that someone cared was worth every hour I spent as a senator. I could not have done any of this without a great staff. And there have been several. But Mason Thomas, I know y'all are here, so stand up. Mason Thomas, Janet Holland, and Sharon Fennell were with me in the end. And I must mention Kathy Sprayberry because she was with me for a long time. I love every one of you and all that you did for me. When I went in the Senate, the first 3 years, which seemed like a long 3 years, I was the only woman, and some of those days were a little bit testy. But it all worked out once I found the bathrooms they had been hiding for a couple years. I did make it look a little bit more like a woman was in the chamber, in the House, and it even sounded more like a woman was there in the chamber. The cussing got less, you know, they didn't say things they weren't supposed to say, because I think they were, I don't know what they were. I must recognize my fellow sister senators. So those of you that are here, when I say something about you, stand up. We stood together, not just over that one issue, which was the demise of some, and some that got told stories about that weren't even true, but over many issues regarding children, families, women, and so many things. When Margie Bright Matthews was elected, a weight was lifted. And Margie has been one of my best friends ever since she walked through that door. I love you, girl. Trust me, we do not agree on everything. In fact, we don't agree on a lot of things. But most people don't. Then there was Mia McLeod and Sandy Sin, which gave us a state-breaking number ever of women in the South Carolina Senate. There were 4 of us out of 46. I mean, that was like, we made the state newspaper. We were like national news. We had 4 women in the Senate. Later, we gained Penry Gustafson and then Tamika Isaac Devine. Women, we made history, and in a very effective way. I am immensely proud of the 12 years I served in the South Carolina Senate. And children, families, veterans, elderly, the disabled, and women are better for it. But it wasn't just because of what I did. It was because the many people that worked with me. I fell in love with the staff, from the security staff, the cleaning staff, and of course, all those who did the paperwork, researching, and writing the legislation for which we all took the credit for. We lost a great staffer, Andy Fiffick, last year to a tragic incident. Andy would always make certain that my children's legislation, because he loved children, that was assigned to judiciary would get a hearing and get on the calendar. Legislators, you're going to miss him. In closing, I'm going to share a fun fact with you. We're going to get light. We had a sort of game. It's a big secret. Now here, y'all listen. That some of us played when we were bored during a break or at lunch or late in the afternoon. You all know how baseball players have walk-up songs? Well, we would decide what each senator's walk-up song would be when they would go to the well. Well, by vow of secrecy, I'm not going to give all those out. But I'm going to divulge just a little bit of information. My first walk-up song was Let It Go from the movie Frozen. And there were a lot of days I needed to let it go. And my last was I'm Not Coming Back. I've already been there, done that by Luke Bryan. And I play that a lot now. To that, I will say, thanks to God for the opportunity to serve the great state of South Carolina and for a wonderful family and friends that I have had and continue to have to share life with me each day. I will always love and care for the people of South Carolina. I have been and continue to be truly blessed. Thank you so much.
Well, congratulations, Senator Shealy and Judge Code, for your exemplary leadership in South Carolina. Now, I hope you'll all join me for dessert and drinks in the back of the ballroom to connect with friends and colleagues and to congratulate our winners. Joel and Rita, I expect to see that bottle of FU All the Time bourbon make its way back there. I'm grateful to all of you for being part of this celebration of compassionate, collaborative, and courageous leadership that drives social and economic progress in South Carolina. As you look around this room tonight, I hope you'll leave here feeling inspired and supported by one another, knowing that we're at our best when we work together. Thank you and good night.